let's go ahead and get them counted down. Here we go in 3, 2, 1, Tetris. So already different openers too.
Yeah, and what is it? Just okay. There's a red piece finally. I thought I was colorblind for a second. Okay, yeah,
something's wrong with our display monitor. No, it's just RNG being RNG. And interestingly, Fractal was the first to take a burn. Well, I guess Andy's gonna follow that up.
So Andy, did you see what he's wearing?
It's so funny because it's like it also looks mirrored too. But Andy's, wearing he's got some of Dog's power from, CTB, Classic Tetris Brawl. And then, of course, he has his own power, his own signature Andy hat. But so does Mr. Genesis. He might not have the Brawl sweater, but he does have Andy's hat, Fractal's medals, Fractal's grip, Fractal's playstyle.
Yep.
Sharky's sunglasses.
Sharky's sunglasses. So, wow, just taking just all these traits from all these great players, and oh man.
But already this opening, this match, this is our Jonas Cup finalists rematch twice, because we had, they were the finalists in 2024, they were the finalists in 2025. Now they're rematching here in Genesis in the semis. Or not finalists matchup in 2024, finalists matchup 2025. They met in the semis in 2024.
Oh, that's true. That's true. So, but every time these players face, there's always something new, and it's just not something you can predict. That's why we have these tournaments, right? The results are not guaranteed.
Yeah, you can look at the papers or look at the stats. I believe Fractal had an entire speech about this at Jonas Cup with how the numbers all supported Andy, and how he was like, the numbers lie. I mean, fortunately, the numbers were telling the truth that time, but you have to play it out. You can't just rely on just the numbers. There is the intangibles when it comes to these events that impact the results of matches.
Yes, yes.
But right now, this has just been an incredibly close game, separated by a Tetris in Andy's favor. Fractal making the adjustment there is actually going to work out. Gets all the right pieces. And this is where, I feel like in this position like this, there's a lot of generally unseen pressure, because when you're in the lead of your opponent, especially by this one Tetris, you're motivated. It's like, all right, I got to keep this lead.
Yeah.
Because then, the second you have a misdrop or you make some kind of degree of inefficiency, that's when they catch back up, and now all of a sudden you're neck and neck.
And speaking of that, this might be the window for Andy to build up a substantial lead. Fractal getting out of this is nothing to be scary about. But look at that. Almost 3 Tetris deficit. Yeah.
It looks like Fractal kind of curious what he decides to opt for here. Might just go for the row 2. You have one less row to play with, but you're able to keep your stack going. I mean, Mr. Genesis right now, 360 to 418.
Yeah, I keep getting confused. Keep confusing Mr. Genesis with Fractal just because of all the things
he's
stolen.
Just taking so much of Fractal. It's very easy to get the two confused.
But we'll try to remember here, not get distracted. And yeah, Andy 263 to Mr. Genesis 4. Wait, did he say 2?
Yes, you did say 2. You're missing 200,000 points.
Count to 4 moment. Yeah, 487 for Andy, and then 430 for Mr. Genesis.
And Simo Tetris right there. But whoa, hold on a second. I know we've been talking a lot about and focusing on some of the micro, but if we back out and look at the macro, Andy's at 533 at 103 lines.
That is quite efficient here, because we know that if you have 500 by 100, you're on just an amazing game.
And this, who knows, we might have a little bit of a revenge kind of happening, or I guess not revenge because this is Mr. Genesis, but remember in Jonas Cup, that first game of Fractal versus Andy in the finals, Fractal dropped a 1.254 on Andy.
In the finals of
game one. And so then now, Andy already with 624,000 and still has 3 more Tetrises available.
And 2 lines to burn.
He's going to burn one of them there. And just look at this board. Immaculate. Fractal with an OP Smish drop, not able to get that all the way over.
Oh, and this is rough because, I mean, able to build out the left, but going into 19 dirty, oh my goodness, those bars could not use a single one.
All right, Andy's going to be able to find one potential Tetris here. 29-piece drought. Tetris for Andy. Transition at 659. Fractal transitions at 548, but is up incredibly high right now, trying to get pieces over there to the left. Good. Misses the T-spin. But hits a crazy quick tap. That's 1 burn. Looking for 2 more. That's another one. Beautiful double. Another flawless quick tap hit over there from Fractal. And just like that, the well is open.
Mr. Genesis. Wow.
What a clutch. Not quite the territory of a Rose dig, but definitely a dig of its own.
But 100,000 point lead for Andy. And has the lines advantage. This is a uphill battle for Mr. Genesis.
A nice little simultaneous Tetris going on right there. So 746, and looks like Mr. Genesis going for the column 5, knocks it down, and might just try and go ahead and reset things to go back over to the right-hand side. As now Andy developing a column 3.
774 for Andy, 672 for Mr. Genesis. Both dealing with this drought, but quickly gets out of that.
Yeah, Fractal able to make the most of the pieces. And now Andy opens up the well, not Tetris ready, and is forced to take burns here. Mr. Genesis knocks in the Tetris. Hold on, that lead's shrinking. There's another Tetris for Mr. Genesis. 758, Tetris ready again. Andy has not been in scoring position. That's another Tetris for Mr. Genesis, now down by less than 2,000 points.
There were 4 long bars that Andy could not use for a Tetris. And
a 20-point differential right now. What a comeback. However, there is still the line discrepancy, so Andy still has an advantage in that sense, and that T-piece was absolutely awful for Mr. Genesis. Still now trying to find a way to survive as Andy has rebuilt up that almost 2 Tetris lead. And that hole is just so annoyingly placed because even if this is all to be burned down, Fractal or Mr. Genesis, now that left side looking kind of scary, has just enough dash to maneuver pieces over.
But that whole time, Andy was just playing clean, and 944.
The 100,000 point lead has been regained. However, it's not over until it's over. Things can still happen. The well is open. There it is. Tetris for Mr. Genesis. 878 now going into level 27.
And Andy just 1 Tetris away from a max
good quick
out.
tap over there for Fractal. Another Tetris. Now that left side has to be dealt with. Massive Spire and an eyepiece dependency in the center.
Super dependent here.
Needs another L piece. Now needs an eyepiece. Finds an eyepiece, but has to burn through 5 lines in order to get access to the well again. And Andy already with the max L, 1,017,000 points. There it is, another Tetris for Mr. Genesis.
This is looking dire for Mr. Genesis. If Andy continues to play like this,
might be somehow recoverable. Hits the quick tap, needs the J piece, goes to how is he holding dash for all this? Wait a second. There's the Tetris for Mr. Genesis.
Not able to get the max of a. It's not enough.
What a game. 1.126 for Andy. 996,000. That was mind-blowing. Hold on, Andy.
Wait,
he's going to set up for the extra. Wait, it's possible.
In the cards?
Needed to hit that quick tap.
Needed that frame perfect, but not going to get it.
What a game, man. Whoa, Mr. Genesis with the thumbs down. We're getting some BM here, even though he lost. They're ready for game number 2 in 3, 2, 1, Tetris.
So dash, it's not as simple as just press and hold. There is so much technical, so many technical details behind it. Things that honestly you can't even pick up on until it becomes like instinct. It's one of those things that only comes through practice, and
Yeah, especially when you get to those higher speeds, it just becomes more mechanically difficult in order to maintain that dash arch. Because whenever the higher you are, the tighter your timings are going to be for whenever the pieces hit the stack. And then being able to swap directions, that's the hardest thing, going from left to right and right to left.
Yeah, but look at this grip, right, that Mr. Genesis has. I think that, oh.
Andy, little bit of a concern here. Looks like we're getting complete opposite openers than how we saw in the beginning.
But yeah, back to the grip. It's something only really seen from Fractal and Mr. Genesis. And the reason for that, it's not just ergonomics. It's allowing both the left and the right to be able to be pressed down almost instantaneously.
You know what I just thought of something? Because this kind of goes back to your match while our players are stacking here on level 18 is as soon as Fractal gave you one of his medals, hold on, Andy, looking for ideal piece. I'm trying to curious because I want to see how he decides to attack this. Going to go for the dirty Tetris.
Wow. I did not see that option there.
Good T delay burn setup, but these S pieces. All right, finally finds it. There it is, Tetris for Andy.
Will Andy ever get to a clean board? We'll see.
Find out next time on Genesis X3. But back to what I was saying, you know, in the match with you and Mr. Genesis, he gave you one of his medals after you beat him in game 1, and then proceeded to win the next couple of games.
Right.
So maybe that medal was weighing you down.
It definitely changed how I was viewing this tournament. I felt like, you know, it was that false sense of security. It's like, oh, I already have this medal, like you know, almost acquired. Like, but
little indecision there from Fractal, or I mean, Mr. Genesis.
But maybe we'll see that. Maybe that first win, right, or the first game, Mr. Genesis likes to. Yeah, give that false sense of security, and then bam, just come right back and take it all.
Yeah, he decides that after game 1 is done, he decides to, you know, take off the weighted clothing since we're dealing in some Dragon Ball references.
That takes off the sandbags and, oh man.
But right now, he definitely isn't holding any punches back. 287 for Mr. Genesis and 216 for Andy.
And another drought. I mean, I think this has just been a droughty seed. Nothing like major, but just constant.
It's just the annoyance droughts. That's like what I like to call them, where they're, you know, they're that 13 to like maybe 22-ish kind of drought range, where it's definitely survivable. But it's when you keep getting hit with them, you start to, you know, feel like the frustration, especially if you're not able to utilize the eyepiece after it.
Yeah, exactly, Sharky. But there's a bar for Andy, and 272 for Andy, 337 for Mr. Genesis.
Mr. Genesis just still being able to maintain the lead. And of course, the reason why there is that line discrepancy is because whenever Andy did get into that dig, he was clearing lines at a much more faster rate because he was up higher than Mr. Genesis. So even though they are playing on the same seeds and it might seem like they're just off sync of pieces, that's has to do with how high our players play. You know, sometimes if they push down or how high, you know, they're stacking, because the higher you stack, the faster the pieces fall because there's less distance between the top and their stack.
Yeah, this is just like almost a double whammy. You're losing out on efficiency if you're up high and burning constantly, but if you get ahead in the line count, that's the piece count too. Like that might be additional info that you don't want to give out, but just is available to the other player.
Yeah, and I believe, you know, you and I, we're definitely no strangers. These players are definitely screen looking. I mean, well, we can't tell Mr. Genesis is screen looking. Maybe that's why he got the glasses. But okay, now we could tell. See, Mr. Genesis got his jokes.
Here to play and just, yeah.
But here to play, definitely here to play. 528 with 4 Tetrises to go here in the level 18 portion.
And there was a head shake earlier from Andy. Great reference to the good old days back when DAS was the main playstyle and players used to do that to showcase their frustration.
The good old days. You and I weren't even. We weren't players in the good old days when Das was the main or the dominant play style, I want to say. And good survival over here from Mr. Genesis. Can actually get the 600K transition. Andy transitions at 470 and not with a clean board. Does find some good burns. Mr. Genesis will transition with that 603.
603. Now, we know this is not the open tournament, but a 600K transition with, oh no, Andy.
Andy, wait, hold on, there's still a chance. If the eyepiece comes right now, no, it's not gonna happen. That's gonna be a top out. Mr. Genesis ties things up 1-1.
That is actually a shocker because Andy's success rate to reaching 29 or just 28, it is unmatched. It's like, this never happens.
Here we go in 3, 2, 1, Tetris.
So, as you saw from my match with Mr. Genesis, the first game seemed to have been like just given to me and then just did not play the same afterwards. And here, it's not that, well, Mr. Genesis did play incredibly well to the 19 transition. It's like this this fear that is just being injected into just like to Andy right now. So
yeah, it was very unexpected because, you know, like you mentioned, Andy does have that statistic of being a player, I believe, the highest rate of making it to 29.
The highest by far.
And he ended up topping out at level 19. We didn't even progress one level.
I believe it was 8 left, quick tap that was missed, which you have that 2-frame window. And for the top players, that's almost a guarantee. I'd say like for Andy, like rounding up to 100% basically, but no, it was like 99% and it just missed it that one time. Needed that J, got it too late, and now we're here, 1-1.
Yeah, 1-1 indeed. Now Mr. Genesis employing more of Fractal strats, talking to his opponent. However, nice, crucial rotation of that J piece there.
Another one. And here, look, Andy's pushing down. That, it can mean a lot of things, but one of them might just be a sign of frustration or maybe just putting on pressure because you do, you know, score more if you're pushing down.
But Andy is also part of that class of, you know, the 2019, 2020 players where, you know, when someone like that generally doesn't press down, when they start pressing down, that means you know something serious is about to happen. Because so many world records from Joseph Saley back at the time, you know, when you saw that he pushed down and he's like, oh, he's locked in. And we see, you know, that happen.
Was that I think that was a dirty, like, center wall Tetris that Andy just got. And yeah, we see that Andy is catching up, but at the expense of the line count.
But also at the same time, you know, we did talk about how stacking up higher brings you higher in the line count and it gives more information to your opponent. Depending on how far ahead you are than your opponent, sometimes that information can be misleading. Like you can see it's like, oh, my opponent has received the line count disparity between us two is pretty big, but that doesn't tell you the droughts in between. And so then maybe there was a moment where it was like a massive 40-piece drought, and then after that 40-piece drought was like several eyepieces. You know, depending on how far they are, you don't know, and you could end up going too aggressive.
No, that's a great catch because that's exactly what I did in game 2 versus Mr. Genesis. I saw the line difference, and I'm like, okay, like I'm definitely gonna get the bar, and I stacked at a level of aggression I would never do, and got to me.
Thanks. So Mr. Genesis was pulling mind games on you from the beginning. Gave you the medal, gave you false information by playing ahead of you.
This is just, I learned a lot of things today about just really the mind games and the things that go on.
Yeah, speaking about games, though, we got a pretty solid one going on right now. 355 for Mr. Genesis, 324 for Andy.
And Andy, still pushing down. We're at that, the four line difference, and that's a pretty big one because that's a Tetris worth, and we know how so many games can just turn around with just one Tetris.
Yeah, generally, you know, if you are to push down, it is definitely better to be ahead on pace, because if you're ahead on pace and you stay ahead on pace all the way up until you get to 29, now that puts additional pressure on your opponent, because not only do they know what they have to get, but now they're going to have to play aggressive if you stayed ahead of them on pace. So in order for them to find some of that missed efficiency, they're going to play more aggressive, which, you know, can lead to an earlier top out.
But here, Fractal, Mr. Genesis has the actual lead, along with the line count advantage. So that doesn't really work here, because if you did have the pace lead and ahead in lines, the other opponent has to play your game, has to match your pace. But this is the complete opposite.
Yeah, we are closing in on that level 19 transition, and really awkward J pieces for Andy. It was just no good spot to put them. Andy now actually in some danger here in the midst of a drought. Good burns.
Yeah, we just crossed the 120 line threshold, so okay, but he got out of it. That is huge.
And with one line to go till transition, Andy is going to commit to setting up for the Tetris. Going to have to take the single. Able to get the eyepiece all the way over. Build up that left. Well has been reopened. Mr. Genesis with one Tetris to go. And is going to transition with a 580. 582 to be exact.
Andy's still waiting out for this one bar. There we go. That was the first Tetris Andy scored in post, and it was at the very end of level 19. So starting out with the drought.
Ooh, those SPs, crazy TP's quick tap. Another crazy quick tap from Andy. That's going to open up the well, but the drought counter keeps ticking. If Andy could just find the eyepiece or even a J piece to go for a flat J burn, eyepiece makes his way over.
But what more can Andy do?
Yeah, there's not much. Mr. Genesis takes another game as Andy tops out at level 20.
This is unheard of when we compare all the statistics so far.
Who is this guy? Here we go in 3, 2, 1, Tetris.
What a rare sight to see.
Yeah, Andy down 2-1, but I don't think this is the only time that this. No, was Andy in the lead in the finals up against Fractal at this Jonas Cup, or did he come back 2-1?
Oh, that's a hard ask here. All I know is that Andy's never topped out this early. More than once.
Consecutively.
More than once.
Right, one after another.
Consecutively. It was odd, because when I recall that game, it started out with the drought into 19, and almost immediately after another drought, and just, you know, held out for the bar, but it was too late at that point. The board was just sold out and just unrecoverable. So,
yeah, as I recall, it was Andy was down 2-1 up against Fractal and then made that comeback. But this isn't Fractal. This is Mr. Genesis. So really is going to have that game in order to bring us to a decider.
Yes, I do recall that now, because, yeah, Andy was down during the Jonas Cup match. But this is new territory.
Beautiful spin took by Mr. Genesis. All right, now he's watching. We can confirm he's watched Sharky spin masterclass.
That is insane knowledge right there. I remember being so mesmerized the first time I saw that.
Insane ball knowledge.
It's an option that comes in useful in these niche situations. Right there. It was great display. It's rare to see in person, so I'm really glad I got to see that.
Yeah, right now though, very close game between the two. And actually, if Andy were to find this Tetris, I can very respect that. Andy decided to opt for the triple because we were running into a drought. And unlike Mr. Genesis, Andy doesn't have any games to give. If Andy loses this game, he's out of the tournament. He'll still play the third place matchup against Hana for one of our hardware, one of our medals.
Yes.
But won't have an opportunity for that first or second place.
Having a game to basically work with, right? That, like, having a game that you can just But yeah, Andy does not have that. Andy, every game matters. Like, he is on the ropes. And I can only imagine just the nerves just like skyrocketing here.
But so far, and Mr. Genesis has been going in for a lot. I feel like there's now a bolstered confidence. I'm seeing a lot more spins, a lot more adjustments, setting up overhangs.
Yeah, a bit more flashy play, as we can call it.
I mean, look at what this dude's wearing. He's definitely a flashy guy.
The same hat, the sunglasses, the medals, and just scoring these Tetrises.
Yeah, 374 to 337. Still a pretty close game here.
Yeah, another Tetris for Mr. Genesis. Andy set up, waiting. Good little adjust there.
Yeah, Mr. Genesis might have actually gave Andy a small in. Decided to create and fill a eyepiece dependency as opposed to placing it somewhere else mid-stack, which allowed Andy to utilize an eyepiece where Mr. Genesis didn't. But as a result, Mr. Genesis did get a better board. And sometimes that's kind of, some of the advanced micro when it comes to classic Tetris in general is maybe accepting not getting a Tetris for just a better board state for more prolonged success.
Right. It's almost like just a delayed...
It's like sacrificing the rook.
Oh, a good analogy there. Yeah, because this is not a sprint, right? It's a marathon.
Yeah, this is not the 100-meter dash. This is the 1600.
Here we go. Both players crossing the 100 point.
That wasn't even intentional. I didn't realize.
The 100 line.
Now that you mention it, both the paces are actually quite hot. 500,000 before you reach that kind of 110 mark is generally indicative of a 600K being very likely. Of course, if the pieces allow it.
Mm-hmm. Andy is on a great pace here, but still behind over 2 Tetrises, almost 3. Yeah. This is crazy.
Forced to take that triple as well. Mr. Genesis with 3 Tetrises possible and can burn 3 lines as well. So there's 1.
Already at 600,000?
There's 2. And he can find 2 more Tetrises, so we can see double 600K transitions. It just depends on when this last eyepiece is. And there it is, a 655 for Mr. Genesis here in Game 4, and a 603 from Andy.
Great transitions from both, but just Mr. Genesis, another level.
But hold on. Mr. Genesis running into, never mind, what a fix. Didn't have dash to get that piece in his desired location, so was kind of forced to take a triple there.
But Andy couldn't capitalize because just also in a dig and getting out of it.
All right. Boards have been rebalanced. Equilibrium has been found, but the drought. Okay, there it is. Tetris for Andy, 656. And Mr. Genesis didn't have dash. And the hang, Mr. Genesis tops out at 668. Andy needs 669, but a 687 is the score that he'll get. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to a decider. Here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tetris. What? Okay, that is very interesting opener from Mr. Genesis.
Quite a creative approach.
And somehow no burns from that. Okay, no, that is illegal.
Wait, we're starting out with the drought though. And Mr. Genesis already with the hole.
Does get punished, so Andy's going to be the first to score Tetris. But that opener should not have worked the way it did.
Man, even I wasn't ready for that. So the decider, right? Semifinals. Yeah, will Andy be able to continue this live event win streak?
Yes, he's already defeated Fractal once. Can he do it again? Or can he defeat Mr. Genesis Fractal's apparently more aura-inspired twin?
Tune in and we'll find out shortly.
So a little bit of sacrificing there over there from Andy. Oh, I like that adjustment. Beautiful play.
Wow, it took me a bit to process that. Amazing solve there.
And Andy's still going to actually have the lead because Mr. Genesis just ran into that slowdown at the very beginning of the game. The drought kind of punished the opener that Mr. Genesis went through and forced him not to utilize that first eyepiece.
Something I noticed from how Andy stacks is it's very fluid and sometimes non-conventional. You would see moves that you would think, like they mean to do that, but it would pay off a lot of the time. It's one of Andy's strengths, I would say.
Until Scout realizes that his hands was in the framing.
But Mr. Genesis here, maybe a bit more of a traditional stacking approach, and it works out a lot of the time. But
wait, we just had a live summoning of Scout Aura. That's why we saw Scout's arm. So Mr. Genesis pulling out all the stops.
They're just wanting to be in that next Game Scout video.
True.
All right, 258 for Andy, 221 for Mr. Genesis.
Yeah, this is the decider. We're now just under halfway through our level 18 portion, and Andy with the 300,000 at 60 lines. No, Harry Hong used to say back in the old days of CTM around 2019, he used to always say is like, if you want a 650K transition pace, you want 100,000 every 20 lines. And with 300,000 at 60, Andy is on track for that.
Okay.
But more burns being forced over here on Andy's side. Oh, that is an uncomfortable formation over there for Mr. Genesis.
But a
C-spin hit.
Yeah, a spin, the bar, now just ready.
Gets the T-piece over, and there it is, another Tetris. 360 here. Andy saying we're going full circle around this one.
So this game, we've been seeing some quite unique solves, and I really like that, just showcasing the creativity from both players.
Definitely. Mr. Genesis, nice, getting the J-piece over. 406 for Andy, 345. Nice adjustment.
Now we're still early on. Only if we get past that level 20, we can really start to make some predictions here. But for now, the lines are tied. Andy's in the lead by almost 2 Tetrises. And Mr. Genesis is...
Ooh, I like this. Oh, whoa!
Whoa!
That was like an adjustment inside of an adjustment. If that makes any sense. But I'm sure you understand, like, seeing that, because it's like, okay, the adjustment was made in order to burn that out, but then kind of, I guess, anti-adjust and just went ahead and created a long bar dependency to get that skim out.
It almost, yeah, it seemed almost like Mr. Genesis had a 2-piece preview, so we'll have to check the cartridge after this game.
I mean, Mr. Genesis is wearing 2 glasses, regular and sunglasses.
Ooh, really making me think. Okay, both players almost tied in lines. 522 for Andy, 463 for Mr. Genesis.
Ooh, the
both
drought
waiting
count is
out.
ticking though. This could get scary.
Oh no,
Mr. Genesis. Oh, the eyepiece, and that's gonna be it. Andy advances to the finals to face his brother yet again.